Welcome, everybody, to the It's Never Too Late show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a life and love transformational coach at Your Next Amazing Story. I'm so excited because we have a very special guest today, Danny Levin, and he's the author of The Mosaic. And today we're talking about it's never too late to let down your walls and be yourself. So welcome, Danny, to the show. I'm super excited to have you here.
Suzanne, it's my pleasure, and thank you for having me. What a treat.
I know. Well, before we jump into this topic, I just want to ask you, first of all, what made you write the book, The Mosaic?
It's super interesting. It happened almost against my will. I was writing a book, which may have been a better topic for this show. I was writing a book called V2, which was the second version of your life. What happens when the life we're living comes to an end and we're ready to reinvent ourselves or just retire or just get ready to die? Because I was watching myself go into that same place where I had been successful in life. I had done all the things that I wanted to do. And yet there was something in me that wanted to go another direction. Mm-hmm. And so I wrote that book and I sent it to a friend of mine who became my muse. And she said, Danny, this book is wonderful, but it's not your book. And I said, I'm sorry. Do you think that I plagiarized it? I mean, tell me, what are you talking about? And she said, no, the ideas are fresh and exciting. But this is a self-help book and you're a storyteller. Why don't you write a story? And I said, what are you talking about? Like, I'm getting older. This is my legacy. What sort of story would I write? She said, I want you to write a fable. And I said, a fable for a legacy book? I mean, that's crazy. And she said, try it. And I fought her for about a minute and a half. And then I saw the brilliance of it because I believe that the world we live in no longer wants people to teach it. We don't want to be taught anything anymore. We know everything we have to do. Mm-hmm. We just want to be loved and accepted and held and supported. And we need to just come together in an atmosphere where people will help us by just being there for us, not by teaching us, not by telling us things, and the story gives that format. It's a great way for people to say, when you tell a story, people say, oh, I relate to that because that's something that happened. And it might go totally off story to what my story is, but it doesn't matter. It awakens a story within somebody else. And that's the beauty of the book.
I love that concept. Is it similar? Because when you were talking about that, what popped into my head is it almost sounds like the book, The Alchemist. Is it similar?
Yes. Well, a lot of people, I mean, to my greatest honor, I mean, and my greatest humility, a lot of people have said, boy, this feels like The Alchemist. I had never read The Alchemist before I wrote The Mosaic. And when I got that many responses, I went back to read The Alchemist. And I went, oh, my God, this sounds like The Alchemist. I mean, this sounds like The Mosaic. I was leading it from the other way. And so I'm so honored that people would even put it in the same sentence because that book is done so well.
I love that book. That's one of my favorite books.
Well, I hope you will love The Mosaic when you get a chance to read it because I think you'll find people have called it the modern day alchemist.
Oh, good. Well, I'm definitely going to have to read that. Well, so let's jump into this because you and I were talking before this interview about how everyone, not just women, is afraid to let their walls down and let people really see themselves and be vulnerable and be their authentic selves. And I just wanted to go deeper into that and what your thoughts were on why do people keep up these walls when they really crave connection, but then they have up the walls?
So I can only tell you from my own experience of me and the people that I've worked with. We come into the world fairly open. We trust people, we love people, and then slowly over time we get hurt. And that hurt really hurts. When we give our heart to somebody and we get hurt, mm-hmm. that hurt stays with us a long time. Mm-hmm. So all I can tell you is what I've done in my life is I've said, I don't ever want to get hurt like that again. And what I ended up doing is putting a silo around me. I built walls around me. Mm-hmm. And until I realized that being inside those walls hurt me more than being vulnerable and open, because when I would make a connection with somebody, all that I would really be doing was my wall was connecting to their wall. And it would feel so empty and so alone. And I would feel like, hold it, I've been with you for a while now. I have no idea who you are. I know, I know how you paint the outside of your wall, wanting me to believe this is who you are. But I sense I'm too empathetic to sense, and I sense there's something in here that I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what would it take for us to hold the space for each other, to brick by brick take down the wall that sits in front of us? You can, when I'm with somebody, I say, you can keep up the other three walls if that makes you comfortable. Like, you don't have, and we can put these back as soon as we're uncomfortable. But I can tell you what has happened for me is my walls got put up before I even got hurt by another person, because I got hurt by my own self, because of how hard I am on myself, how much I say, you can't do this. You're never going to succeed. You're never going to make this happen. And no matter how much success I had in my life, I would always say, no, you're not like this, or you can't do that. Or I would hear voices
Mm-hmm.
from other people, but mainly from myself. And so if I spent my life all the time just doing this,
Right.
right? Look how close this wall has to be. I mean, I'm inches away from my face.
Mm-hmm.
And the tricky thing is I don't know when I'm going to hit myself and where I'm going to hit myself. So that inches from my face has to go from the top of my body to the bottom of my feet. And
Oh, go ahead.
it gets suffocating to live inside that silo.
Yeah, it does. And so, the situation that you just described there, it's interesting because when you were talking about how we tend to beat ourselves up, and we all do it in one
Yeah.
form or another, but it was interesting the visual I got while you were showing how, you're hitting yourself figuratively, but is that we tend to put up walls to keep others out because we're afraid of getting hurt. Yet, really, what the walls are there for is to protect ourselves from ourselves, right?
A billion percent, because there's no way you can hurt me as much as I can hurt me,
Yeah.
because I know all my soft spots. And so I started to look at what would it take for me to let down my own walls. And I realized it's been so cliche-ish and said so many times, but it wasn't cliche-ish to me anymore, because when I practiced it, or when I started to practice it, I started to notice my walls were melting.
Hmm.
As soon as I started to be kind to myself, and I even have on, I don't know if you can see it, this little
Mm-hmm.
bracelet, Be Kind to You, that I
Mm-hmm.
created, okay?
Right.
As a practice, it's a 21-day consecutive day challenge to see if you can be kind to yourself. I've been doing it now for 8 months, and I'm in the longest phase of my practice right now. I'm at 14 days. But it would take me sometimes I would only get to 20 minutes in a day. And what happens is, as soon as you realize you're not kind to yourself, you take it off this wrist and put it on the other wrist and start again. But when we're kind to myself, if I no longer need to protect myself from my own attack, because I'm not going to hit myself, so I can drop this wall.
Right.
And then what I realize, that same practice is, if I can be kind to you and you're not scared to me, you're not scared that I'm going to hurt you, that I'm just going to love and accept you. And in the end, every single person, that's all we want. We want to be loved and accepted.
Yeah.
We want to be validated and heard. And if we can just listen to each other and just say, I promise you I will never hurt you, walls drop all around us. But what I found is, in relationships, and I know you do coaching with women and love,
Mm-hmm.
as long as we are living in our silos, we can't have a real connection with somebody. We can connect my wall to your wall, but that isn't real connection. That's an empty feeling.
Yeah.
Because all the while we're hiding behind our walls, hoping no one will see us. When real relationship is, here I am. I love you and accept you as you are. Will you do the same for me? Will
Why do you,
you?
why do you think that people put up the walls and they're afraid of being seen. What do you think they're afraid of others seeing about them?
I can again only speak from my own personal experience. I think I'm a really good person. Okay. I really believe that I have a heart of gold and I will do anything for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I have all sorts of insecurities. I have all sorts of things. And we're taught as men, especially, to be strong. And we want to show up and I was the great white knight for a lot of years. You know, I would ride into the room and I'd say, "What's wrong? You know, just get on my horse. I'll ride you away."
Mm-hmm.
Until my wife got late stage breast cancer. And for 2.5 years, she was in blood curdling, screaming pain for 45 minutes, every 45 minutes, all day, all night. And I would sit with her and I would hold her hand. I would be 2 inches from her and I couldn't take 1 second of her pain away. And then I realized, who is this great white knight anyway? He can't do anything. All I can do is just hold you and comfort you to the best that I can do, but I can't relieve anything that you're going through. So it's this perceived notion of who the world makes us be. Look on Facebook. Nobody posts pictures of themselves crying and feeling hurt. Look at the billboards that we see and the TV shows that we watch and the movies that we see that have these idyllic, perfect relationships that nobody has.
Right.
But we believe we have to be those people. And when we're not those people, we have to hide those parts of ourselves that aren't those people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's so true what you say about Facebook. And I say this to my clients all the time because they'll compare themselves to other people that are in relationships or that have what they don't have. And I always tell them, people are posting their highlight reel on Facebook. They're not posting, like you said, all the crappy stuff when things are falling apart. I mean, some people do. Some people like it's too much information.
Yeah.
It's we need this happy medium of good and some bad, but not too much information. But it's true. It's you know, if we just let down our walls and we were truly ourselves and we're vulnerable, because the truth is nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, nobody is. But people put out in social media, that's where I think social media can sometimes be bad, is everyone has this perception, oh, this person has the best life possible.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
don't.
And I would agree with you if it only started 30 years ago or 20 years ago when social media started, but that's not when it started. We've been doing this for a long time. When I was growing up, it was called Keep Up with the Joneses. You know, we had to have the lifestyle that everybody else had, and and when I look around, I've spent most of my life in the process of trying to get to know myself and who I am. Most of my friends are billionaires or millionaires now because I've had the good fortune to meet a lot of people who were really focused on making their work work.
Mm-hmm.
But now when I sit with them, for the most part, I'm not going to say it's across the board, but for the most part, I don't see many people that are content. I don't see many people that are happy. I don't see many people that know themselves or feel connected to their own selves. So I have a theory, really, that in order to connect with another person, there's 4 connections that have to happen. Connecting with another is the last one. The first one that has to happen is we have to connect to ourselves. We have to know who we are.
Yes.
We have to take down that wall that we keep hitting ourselves with and just be open, because we can't, as long as that wall's there, we'll never connect to anybody. The second thing is we have to connect to something bigger than us. We have to know, whether you call it God or the universe or whatever you call it, even if you don't call it a spiritual thing, that there's just something bigger than us, that when we connect to these moral values or this right way of living, that it makes us richer and fuller. And we have to know that things happen not only because we made them happen, but there might be a reason behind them. If we go out with somebody and they don't like us, you know, there might be a bigger reason. It's not to blame ourselves. Maybe they're just not the right person for us. And when we can connect to something higher than ourselves or more than ourselves, we have the possibility to see maybe that's why it happened. The third thing.
I want to go deeper on that point, though, because I find that, and you're so right, is maybe that's not the right person for me. But I find women, when a man either disappears, pulls away, or says he doesn't want to date or breaks up, is you're right, is she can look inward, right, and start to become the self-critic. And that goes back to your first point that you were talking about, the connection to self is the most important connection, because if you connect to yourself and you love yourself and you accept yourself, that's truly what matters. Because then when you have that connection, if he doesn't feel it, then he's the wrong man for you.
Yeah.
Right.
And in my language, I would never use right or wrong. I would just say everything builds upon everything else. When we walk, and you've seen it, I've seen it, I'm sure you've seen it in the work that you used to do. Some of the most unattractive physical people walk into a room and they own the room because they have so much confidence, and every woman wants to be with them, or every man wants to be with them. Mm-hmm. And some of the most beautiful people are so unfulfilled inside that they walk into a room and everybody goes, ugh, and they walk away. Yeah. So it isn't what we physically look like or the outside persona. It's who we are inside. And if we don't know who we are, how can we ever have a relationship with someone who we want to know who we want to have say, I know who you are, I see you. Intimacy is into me see, right? And if I can't even look into me to see myself, how will I ever let anybody into me see?
Right.
Because I don't want you to see what I have. I'll build that wall around me like we started out saying.
Exactly. You know, it's funny because a lot of times how you were talking about the physical attraction is sometimes women will say to me, well, why can't a man just love me for me, you know? And maybe she's a curvier woman or what. And I always tell them, I say, every man is attracted to something different. And what I always say to that is when you love and accept your own body, that's when he will. Because it's all I always say it begins from within.
Yeah. And I agree. And here's one thing that I would say, even though every man is attracted to something different and every woman is attracted to something different, I don't know anybody who is not attracted to someone that walks into a room and just has that confidence, not fake confidence, but the real confidence in themselves, where they know that they're like a flower that just opens up and their aroma is so magnetic that nobody can do anything but stop and smell it. When we become that person, it doesn't matter if we're a career person, a stay-at-home mom, an old person, a young person, overweight, underweight, it doesn't matter. What matters is every single person is attracted to the magnetism of someone who is content with themselves.
Yeah. And confidence is a universal attractor. Both men and women are attracted to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I in my college days or high school days, I'm always been on the heavy side. Mm-hmm. But women would come up to me and say, I just want to be with it. That you're like a teddy bear. I just want to be with you. Right. And so it had nothing to do with how I looked, or they just felt this sort of safety, and they just felt this sort of person that would just love them, and they could just hold them and squeeze them and it would be fine. And so I can tell you from my direct experience, I'm not Rock Hudson. And I've never, ever, ever, ever not been able to be with a woman if I want to. And I'm married now to a woman who's 21 years younger than I. And you would think old fat guy, he pursued her and went after her, but it was exactly the opposite. I was 2 days away from going to live in a monastery in the Himalayas. And she just said, we had one conversation. And she said, I just know you're the person for me. And she was, and she is. And we have a beautiful relationship. So there's a beautiful saying in Judaism. They say man plans and God laughs. Mm-hmm. Our plans, our thoughts, who we think we are, what we think we need to do, all dim in comparison, right?
Yeah.
When it's time, it's time. And that's why when you believe in something bigger, you just know that in your time, if somebody is yours, there's not one thing you can do to keep them from being yours. And if someone's not yours, there's not one thing you can do to make them yours.
Right.
And that becomes such a comfort. That becomes such a joy. And so the third connection, let me just say that quickly because I know we're going to run out of time, is a connection to knowing what your purpose is. You have to know why you want the relationship. What is it about the relationship that you want? Do you want somebody to make you whole? Do you want someone to be there for you? Do you want someone you can give your heart and soul to? Do you want someone that will be a back and forth relationship where you will experience love beyond your wildest dreams? What is it? What's your purpose? Because just like in going into a car and we put in a GPS system, our destination, we don't ever have to think anymore. The car just drives us, tells us exactly where to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, our minds are like GPS systems. Once it knows what we want, it'll direct us to that purpose. We don't have to work hard or think hard. We just have to surrender and let it happen. Let all of it come to us. And it's only when we know ourselves, we believe in something bigger, that what's ours will surely come to us. When we have our direction set and our purpose there in front of us, then when we make those connections, watch out. That's when everything goes beautiful. That's when the relationships explode. That's when life becomes so intoxicating that you're not only intoxicating as an individual, but you're intoxicating as a couple. Those are the couples everybody wants to be around. Those are the couples people talk about after you leave the party. Those are the couples people say, wow, just being with you, I feel different. And that's the intoxication.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So when we talk about being your authentic self, because I'll share with you something that some women will say to me, and I always find this is interesting. So I want to get a man's take on this.
Perfect.
Okay. So a lot of women will say, so I show up on the first date and I'm nervous to say the wrong thing, which is, first date jitters. Okay. I get that. But then she's afraid to truly be herself. Like she doesn't want to say the wrong thing because he might get the wrong impression of her, or he might not like something she does or says. And so it's almost like her hands are tied and she's almost like a robot, I feel like. And she's just afraid that he's not going to like her if he sees the true self. What are your comments towards that?
There's no way a woman that walks into a first date can ever have what she wants walking in that way. Because nobody's tied her hands but herself. Who would want to be with, I can only tell you from my point of view. If I'm worried that what I'm going to say is going to offend you, or what I'm going to say you're going to not like me for, or what I'm going to say you're going to get upset with me and angry about, Suzanne, you might be the most beautiful woman in the world, and I might dream about being with you. But if that's the response between the two of us, you're not mine.
Right.
Why would I ever want to be with you? So why not just come out and be yourself and see, rather than have somebody fall in love with someone you're not and spend your whole life trying to live up to something that you're not, which is going to be the most unsatisfying, unfulfilling, whatever relationship in the world. Why not just come out and be yourself? What do you have to lose? You're by yourself anyway now.
Yeah.
You might just be surprised. People might actually love you for being you.
And people if they don't, it's okay.
And if they don't, they're not yours.
Yeah.
And when you connect to something bigger than you, and you know that every sock has a shoe, and every single person has their person, and when you know that, and it's just a matter of time, and you just keep going towards it, like. The beautiful thing about the mosaic to me is we're one piece away from everything. If you look at a mosaic, one connection away is a whole new world. And if we walk through that connection and the door closes, great, turn around and walk into the next one. Just keep walking no matter what happens. Just keep opening up doors, and let those doors take you to where you're going to go. Because that's the exquisiteness of what happens when real connection happens. But if we're scared, go ahead.
So what would you say to the woman that is so afraid to step outside her comfort zone for fear of her heart getting broken?
I would invite her to do a lot of work with you as a coach. I would
Good point.
I would say to you, you know what? You're not ready yet for a relationship, because the most important relationship you have to embrace is the relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
You have to understand that you're good enough. No matter how bad you think you are good enough. No matter how much you think you're not worthwhile, there is someone who's going to look at your bumps and your cracks and all your things and think you are the most adorable, beautiful woman he's ever seen. There's going to be someone that feels the vulnerability that you opening up to them, and not blabber mouthing every problem you have, but just being open and saying, I'm really scared to you. You know, I came here and I have to be honest. I like you, and I'm really scared you might not like me. And normally what I would do is I would try and show you a different version of myself. But I like you too much to do that. I'm going to try and be me. And if it turns out you don't like me, that's completely okay with me. But I don't want you to like somebody I'm not. I want to give you the opportunity to like me as I am. And I'd like to ask you to do the same thing. Let's take down the wall that exists between them. And let's just look at each other and see if there's something here that makes us happy. And if it is, let's go another step. And if it's not, it's okay. I know my person is out there. I don't have to desperately crave you, because if you're not mine, it'll be the most unhappy, unfulfilling relationship we've both have ever been in. Enough of that. Let's build something we both love by being who we both love and seeing if we can love each other. Who doesn't want that?
Oh my God. Every woman out there just said, I want that.
Right. But if I'm on the other side of a woman saying that to me, I've already fallen in love. The first step.
Yeah.
I already say, wow, this is somebody who's real. This is, and people in this world are not real. Mm-hmm. So now you stand out because you're outstanding. Right?
Yes. I love that. I love that. So, Danny, I would love for you to share with the ladies one piece of advice that you could give them to the woman that says, you know what, Danny, it's too late for me. I'm not going to find love again. What would you say to her?
It's never too late. I found my wife, or my wife found me. She's 21 years younger than me. It wasn't because I had a lot of money. It wasn't because I had a social status. It wasn't because of anything. It was because of one conversation that I'm inviting you to see like this. She was 38 and I was 21 years, 59. Okay? And age doesn't matter. Age is just a numerical number that we put into our head. And it's never too late. That's what the beauty of your show is. It's never too late. Those same people are the people that say it's too late for me to be happy. It's too late for me to start a new career. It's too late for me to do the things that I've wanted to do. It's too late for, pardon me, BS. Right? It's only too late if you believe it's too late.
Yeah.
Too late is a mindset. It's the perfect time. This is the perfect moment because this is the now. And this is the only moment that it could happen. There's a great saying in Zen, and they say the best time to have done this would have been 30 years ago. The second best time is today.
Oh, I love that. I have to remember that. That's a great one.
It's a great saying because 30 years ago can't happen anymore.
Yeah.
But today's right here.
Yeah. And it's your chance to get that second chance and start that next amazing story. So this has been amazing, Danny. So I would love for you to share with the ladies how they can find you and your amazing book. Show your book. I love the cover. Okay. I think it's so beautiful.
Thank you. So my book is called The Mosaic. It's available on Amazon. And please, I would love for you to read the story. There's something magical in the story because not only in the words that it says, but in the space between the words, something happens. And I would really invite you to think about that when, even in a conversation, even in this conversation we're having, There's certain words that I'm saying, but what I'm also trying to do just with my words is occupy your mind. So your mind doesn't stop the love that I'm trying to send you through my heart. So that when your mind feels safe and feels comforted and feels okay, this guy's okay, you can receive the love that I'm trying to pour into every person that's listening here now.
Right.
And so we have Occupy Wall Street. Let's do a new movement called Occupy Mind, so that our hearts can open, right?
Yeah.
And the website my website is the mosaiconline.com, and there you'll find a little bit about me and just but it's only a website is only like an introduction. If you find something there, you have a great resource right here in Suzanne. Get to know yourself. Do work with her. That's what she does. If you want to talk with me, I'm more than willing to talk with anybody. It's my love and my desire to talk with you. It's because every connection takes us somewhere. But you have somebody right here who's dedicated her life to helping you open up your life. Why not take advantage of that? Why not ask her to help you? Why not bring her in and allow her to show you the mirror of who you are so that you can bring your true self out? Be authentic, be real, be vulnerable, be happy. It's a much better life than living in behind a wall.
That's
From
so
one
true.
who's done it. I've spent a lot of time behind that wall. Even the walls of the monastery that I thought I was going to are just more walls like that.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, Bruce, that's your middle name, right?
That's my middle name. Yeah, that's okay. You can call me Bruce.
It's so funny. It's stuck in my head because I remember seeing that as your middle name. Danny, you couldn't have said it any better. And I love that you said about letting down the walls and really discovering yourself. Because you and I are here to help people, right? But we can't help people until you let down the walls, and you have to take the first step. And you have to really commit to saying, I want to change my life. Danny and I are not saying our lives are perfect by any means or that we're perfect people, but the difference for us, and I'll speak for myself, is that when I saw things that I was unhappy with in my life or I wanted to shift in my life, is I reached out for that help and I wanted to transform my life. I didn't want to stay in victim mode anymore or staying in that sad place of having all the walls up around my heart and around me and not letting anybody in, because that's not a life that I want to live or Danny wants to live. So it's up to you ladies to really take down the walls and take that first step. So, go ahead.
I don't know if we have time, but I'd
Sure.
love to share one little practice with people.
Okay.
Okay. And this is a practice that I saw a monk from Vietnam give on Super Soul Sunday with Oprah. And he calls it compassionate listening. His name is Thich Nhat Hanh. And I would like to invite all of your listeners. They don't need me to do it, but I just want to paint this image for you. I'm holding a space here for you. I'm not holding it inside of myself. I'm holding it outside between where you and I sit. And I want you for a moment, in the comfort of your being, to pour all of your pain, all of your suffering, everything that ails you, everything that troubles you. I want you to pour it into this space. And even if you were to say to me, Danny, it's you that's causing me this pain and suffering, my response to you would be, just keep pouring. Tell me more about that. It's not my time to rationalize or defend or try and make myself look better. Just allow yourself to pour everything that you are into this space. God bless you. And because of that, what happens is the compassionate part of that listening process is this, is that my compassion and my listening allows you to experience life for even just a few moments without that pain in your body, without that pain in your mind, without that pain in your system. I'm not going to take it anywhere. You can always come back and get it if you want. But you can also let it go. And one of the characters in my book is called the Trash Man. And what I realized is that's what the Trash Man does. He basically looks and says, pour all your trash into this container. And when you're ready, let me take it and put it in my truck and grind it up and drive it away. And so if you read the book, The Mosaic, allow the characters to become real for you. Allow them to do that work. But in the meantime, you don't need to do anything. Just know this container is here and pour all that you don't want into it. And see what your life would be like when you live the life that you do want. Thank you for allowing me to have that extra moment.
I love that. That was great. Everyone needs to go read this book because we want to hear about the trash man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was so, so beautiful. And now I know everyone's going to want to go read your book and have this transformative experience in that. So, Danny, tell us again where they can find the book.
The book is on Amazon. It's The Mosaic. If you want to put my name, Daniel Levin, The Mosaic, Daniel Levin, you'll go right to the page. People have been kind enough to really write some nice reviews and really enjoy it. But really, all I want to do is give people the opportunity to experience it for themselves. And when you experience it, please share with me your experience, because I want to know what you feel when you hold it, when you read it, when the characters start to speak to you, because they're still speaking to me.
Aww.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful way. If you realize that everything in the world interacts with us, even fictitious characters in a story,
Yes.
they interact with us if we let them.
So true.
So thank you so much for having me on your show. You're a jewel, and I hope this is the beginning of something with us, not the end.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much, Danny, for being on the show. And thanks, everybody, for joining us on the It's Never Too Late show. Our show is available both in video and podcast format. You can get either the video or the podcast on yournextamazingstory.com. And if you would like to get our free ebook, How to Create Your Next Amazing Story in 3 simple steps, you can click right here on the video, or you can go to yournextamazingstory.com.